I was called to play with Martina last minute. The tournament already started last minute. You could still register for the mix. And I said no. And my mom happened to be there at that time. And I got off the phone and she said, "Who was that?" I was like, "Oh, it was my agent, Gavin, calling to play with Martina." And she said, "Navratilova?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "You pick the phone up right now and say you'll play." It's a true story.
Welcome to Pickleball Fountain of Youth with Hall-of-Famer Steve Paranto. Today's episode with guest Jonathan Stark is brought to you by Protalis Insoles. Visit protalis.com. That's PROTALUS.com and use the code PROPB for 15% off and experience the benefits of proper body alignment.
Hi, this is Steve Paranto, Pickleball Hall-of-Famer, and this is our first episode of the Fountain of Youth, Pickleball Fountain of Youth, and I'm so happy because our first guest is tennis player, former pro tennis player, 2 majors under his belt, Jonathan Stark. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Pleasure being here.
Yeah. I think probably the first thing people want to know is what was your tennis career like? How did it all start?
So I grew up in Medford, Oregon. My family played lots of tennis. My dad grew up in Northern California, played at University of Oregon. So tennis was a part of his life. And then, so just as a family, we played. I have a older brother, older sister, and a younger brother. And I can remember going on vacations and, playing family doubles. So it just was kind of part of what we did as a family. Nothing crazy. At an early age, I had some success playing tournaments and around Oregon and playing the 10 and unders and the 12 and unders, and then it just kind of escalated from there.
Very young.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I started playing when I was about 7 or 8, and then tournaments in the 10 and under divisions and stuff, and but very local. I remember playing my first national tournament down at Barnes Tennis Center in San Diego, and doing that. So it just kind of escalated from there. I grew really early as a kid, so I was big and strong and fairly athletic, and so it just was something I enjoyed doing. I did play a lot of other sports growing up. I played high school basketball, lucky enough to do that. But yeah, the tennis just kind of took off. I ended up playing lots of national events, doing well nationally, and just kind of going from there.
So as a junior, 18 and under, where were you standing?
I was number 1 in the world.
Oh, wow.
I was number 1 in the world. Yeah, when I was 18. So I won the Junior U.S. Open that August when I was 18, and then I went to Stanford University, played tennis there for 2 years. We won the national championship as a freshman, my freshman team. I never won an individual title, which was a little bit of a disappointment. I had some chances in both singles and doubles. There's a big wall at Stanford in the tennis facility of anyone that's won a individual title, and Johnny Mack's on it, and kind of a who's who, and a little bit of a disappointment. I never got on that wall, but I went to Stanford for 2 years and then left. Loved every second. Still stay in touch with my coach, Coach Dick Gould, down there at Stanford.
Oh, that's a very famous tennis coach.
Oh yeah. And so I just talked to him the other day, and big part of my life. A lot of those guys on my team were still some of my best friends, and and then about 1990, 91, I guess I decided to leave Stanford, and then played about 11 years on the tour, and been involved in tennis ever since, mainly junior tennis, but just carried that through. Love the game, and I love doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah, which is?
Well, I run a junior academy called Oregon Elite Tennis here in Portland, and I have all different levels. I have some group of kids that aspire to play college tennis and play the junior circuit around, and I go all the way down to mainly not necessarily beginning, but kids that are aspiring to play tournaments and so forth. And I just want to create a path for somebody that does. If you want to go and play high school tennis, I want that path. If you want to go and play some tournaments, but not take it super seriously. I think that's important to, if you want to do other sports, I think it's important. And then if you want to be that person that maybe goes and tries to play college tennis, I'd like to create that opportunity too. So it's a little tricky, but I'm loving what I'm doing. And
I know your boys played. Is
Mhm.
that one reason why you got into coaching juniors, because you're kids, or did you just? Or
I think
were
it
you?
was a natural progression, but my kids were involved, and obviously doing anything with your kids is super special. And so
Mhm.
that was, I wouldn't say it was an impetus, but it was a nice bonus to be able to spend time with them and with my
Sure.
daughter on the court. And my oldest son played Division III college tennis and had a really wonderful, amazing experience doing that. My middle son played a little more lacrosse and football than tennis, but still a really nice player. And my daughter the same, so they'll have those racket skills and the the game of tennis for their whole life, and I think that's important that I instilled that in them.
Sure. They have a lot
Mhm.
of choices of activities they can do the rest of their
I
life.
hope so.
Hi, this is Pickleball Hall-of-Famer Steve Paranto. Everyday injuries like ankle sprains and Achilles strains and plantar fasciitis take players of all skill levels out of the game. A lack of heel and ankle support in most pickleball shoes can add strain and fatigue to the muscle groups that end up taking on the load as you lunge and turn for the perfect shot. Pro Talus insoles are built with a patented heel cup that guide your foot into an optimal position for support, injury prevention, and added power behind your movements. They fit right into your current shoes and last up to a year. Use code PROPB for 15% off at protalus.com. That's PROTALUS.com, and experience the benefits of proper body alignment. Tell us about your two majors, because I mean that's something that not a lot of people can say they want to major
Yeah,
in pro tennis. Tell us what.
yeah. Well, pretty special. So in 1994, I won the French Open men's doubles with my partner Byron Black. He was from Zimbabwe. He played at USC when I was at Stanford. We played junior tennis growing up together, so we knew each other really well. We'd been playing together previously up to that point. We had lost in the finals of the Australian Open doubles a few months before, and then got to Paris. And I think at the time we were the #1 team, or at least close. We had been playing well together. So it just came together, and like you said, to be able to I mean, that's kind of the pinnacle of a tennis player, and to be able to say that and to achieve that is super special.
Right.
So
Well, it never goes away.
yeah, good point. And then in '95, I won the Wimbledon mixed doubles with Martina Navratilova, and that and that's obviously special for so many reasons. Be able to say you're a Wimbledon champion is, growing up watching around 4th of July, watching like Borg and Johnny Mack and Roscoe. I mean, just all Roscoe Tanner, all the, just such a part of what we did growing up, watching those Wimbledons. And so to be a part of that history is pretty special. And then to play with um,
A legend.
Martina, a legend,
Yeah.
is
And
super
and she
special.
was already a legend at that point. That was near the end of her career.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
she was early 40s. She hadn't been
Oh.
playing for a couple years. Kind of a quick funny story. So it was '95. At the time, I was ranked, top 50 in singles somewhere, and I was #1 in the world in doubles. And if there was ever a tournament that I felt could make a run in singles, would be Wimbledon. It suited my game really well. So I was not going to play mixed doubles. I was just going to play men's singles, men's doubles, and not play mixed. Martina was supposed to play with Johnny Mack that year, and it didn't work out. He had too much TV obligations or something. So I was called to play with Martina last minute. The tournament already started last minute. You could still register for the mix. And I said no. And my mom happened to be there at that time. And I got off the phone and she said, "Who was that?" I was like, "Oh, it was my agent, Gavin, calling to play with Martina." And she said, "Navratilova?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "You pick the phone up right now and say you'll play." And it's a true story.
Oh, wow.
So
Thanks, Mom.
listen to your mom.
Thanks,
And
Mom.
then
Wow.
I met Martina for the first time walking onto center court for a first round match. There's a little holding area that you go into, from each
Right.
respective locker room, and there's a little area that they escort you out onto center court. And I was like, "Hey, Martina, I'm Jonathan," and we just chatted walking out on the court. And And it's
I
pretty,
can't imagine that working.
yeah, pretty crazy.
I can't
She's
imagine
like,
in pickleball
she's like,
meeting
what
somebody
side do
for
you
the first.
play? I was
Oh
like,
my
oh, I'm playing backhand now. She's like, well, you're still playing. You play. I'm not playing much. And so she took the deuce. I took the ad. And, it's kind of the way doubles sometimes works. I mean, pickleball is probably the same. You just kind of know immediately if you have a chemistry together. And same with Byron, right? We won the first tournament we played. It was the Swiss Indoor fall of 90. It would have been 93. And that's when we kind of started our run. You just kind of knew immediately you meshed well together. And Martina was the same.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is, I can't imagine that working in pickleball where you'd never even, I mean, we drill and get you practice matches with a partner.
You do in tennis, not as much in mixed, because you only play mixed in the 4 majors.
Yeah.
That's the only time.
Did your games improve as you went along in that draw with Martina?
Yeah, I mean, you get a little more comfortable and kind of get the nuances of where their movement and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, every match you play, you get a little more comfortable with each other.
Yeah. Wes Gabrielson, who I've had you on the pickleball court with, told me a story that you saved some of the grass from Wimbledon when you won the championship. Is that a true story?
Yeah, that's true. You always have a little bit. Yeah.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I would.
So, they give you a little. The trophy gets big. You get pictures with that, and they give you a little replica of it. So you got to save everything you can.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Now here's what I was thinking. Okay, you won 2 majors, one on grass, one on clay.
Yeah.
They're totally opposite each other, and you didn't grow up in Oregon playing on either one. So how did that happen?
Random. As I said earlier, I think the grass was suited my game. In professional tennis, you're only playing on grass very seldom. So like a 4-week window between after the French Open to Wimbledon ends, and there's a tournament in Newport, Rhode Island. That's a grass court tournament. But so you're only playing 3, 4, 5 weeks a year on grass. Clay is a little different. I don't know. I've randomly had a lot of good results at the French. I did pretty well there in singles. I had some other opportunities that I did well in doubles. I don't know. Hard to explain.
You might be, I'm just guessing, you might be the only person in the world that's won 2 majors. I mean, you're only 2 majors on grass and on clay.
No, Bjorn Borg only did 6 times.
No, but he won a lot.
Yeah.
I'm saying, I mean, you're only 2.
Well,
you're only 2.
We'll have to dig deep for that.
We'll have maybe somebody, one of our listeners on the podcast can do the search for that, because when I thought about that, I thought, that's strange that you did that.
Yeah. Funny story about Grand Slam, really fast. Martina, we're warming up for the finals of Wimbledon, and she says, well, how many Grand Slam finals have you been in? I said, well, I won the French, I lost in the finals of the Australians, so this will be my 3rd final. And I said, what about you? And she says, I have no clue how many finals I've been in. I know I've won 55. So I was her 56th Grand Slam title, which is pretty crazy.
Now, have you maintained a relationship with a superstar like her or your partner Byron Black since those days?
Byron, for sure. We stay in close touch. He's a farmer now in South Africa. His dad was an avocado farmer in Zimbabwe, and Byron's he stayed involved in tennis and did a bunch of other things, but now he's a farmer, loving it, and he does that. Martina and I have lost a little touch, but we still exchange a Christmas card.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I would think that'd be a bond that you would have for the rest of your life when you win a major together. Yeah. But she's had that bond, it sounds
with a lot of
people. So tell us about your first time ever playing pickleball.
Well, gosh, I was telling you today, I remember playing pickleball and PE growing up in Medford, Oregon. I mean, so pickleball's been around a long time. I mean, I remember playing in the gym and, setting up the nets like they do now. And so that's my first memory of pickleball. And then after that, I lived in Seattle for about 20 years. So you'd see it on some private courts. A lot of our friends would have a driveway where you could put the holes for the nets and do that and stuff. So that's kind of more where I saw it there. And then when I first moved down here, you were gracious enough to reach out to me. Didn't quite work out, I think, for whatever reason. I was too busy or something. And then randomly, my brother put in a court, a multi-purpose court, basketball, pickleball. And I can't remember the exact year, but it was over Christmas and my kids were home and we ended up playing a lot of pickleball those couple of weeks over the holiday on my brother's court, and then you happened to reach out again, and then that's when I kind of started playing a little bit more.
Yeah.
Played with Wes, and got the bug. Unfortunately, I haven't played with you much recently, but
Well, that's going to change when I get my indoor building is. So we're going to get a regular day again with us guys back together. I know I had a few of those days. It's funny because you taught your junior academy was in one of the bubbles.
Yeah.
And we were playing pickleball in the bubble next door, and you would come over next door and play with us.
Yeah, it was tons of fun. Meet new people, and I really enjoy playing.
Yeah. And those people keep getting better and better and better.
I imagine. And I'm going the wrong way.
Well, we got to get you back on. We got to get you back on the court. Are you surprised with the number of pro tennis players who have just recently retired from tennis who are now coming to pickleball? I mean, pros.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise, in my opinion, that they're good. But yeah, the pickleball's just taken off in the last, I don't know how many years, 5, 6 years or so. And
we were when I first met you, was kind of the middle of the second boom.
And that these guys are, I don't know where the Bryan brothers are right now, but I know there's been some talk, and Jack Sock's done it, and Sam Querrey now, quit playing tennis. And so it's, I guess it's a little surprise that it's going this way, but it's exciting. It's cool. I think it's, it adds some interesting sublines, story plots to pickleball, and see how good these guys can be, and who knows? Yeah,
and they're a draw. They're a draw for our pro tour.
Definitely.
People want to see, how's Jack Sock going to play?
How's he going to do
pickleball? How is
I'd like to see it. How are the Bryan brothers going to do? Are they going to translate to? They're obviously a little older now, but I think that's the one nice thing about if you compare the two sports, pickleball, the overall movement isn't quite as extensive as tennis. There's still the hand-eye and stuff.
Right, and we're mainly doubles, which is a small court.
Right.
And so I think they have a chance, a really good chance.
Yeah.
Now their goal, from what I heard, which the rumor is, they want to be number one.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they'd do it if they didn't think that.
Yeah. And the reason I think they have a chance, even though what are they, 44, 45? I mean, that would typically be very old. Our Eric Lang's our top pro here. He's pushing that now, but he's already played 5-6 years.
Yeah.
The reason I think they have a chance, they have a built-in partner, drill partner. One of the hardest things to break in pickleball doubles is finding a partner.
Sure.
A good partner. Well, they can learn together. If and I'm sure they'll get coached right. I'm sure they'll do what the coaches tell them to do. They didn't get to be number one in tennis by just randomly doing what they wanted to do. Lefty righty.
Yeah. Great hands.
If they're motivated.
Yeah.
And they are willing to grind. They had to grind to get this good at tennis. I think they have a chance.
Be fun to see.
Yeah.
And sports is changing. People are playing so much older, and look at LeBron, and with technology and just fitness and technology. So 44, that, like you said, it's on the old end, but it's all changing. People can do it. Yeah.
Did you ever know Caitlin Christian? Did you ever know that? Do you know that name? That's one of our female coming from pro tennis. She was playing pro pickleball while she was playing pro tennis, and she was 50th in the world. I mean, that was kind of one of our first. She was the body double in the Billie Jean King, Bobby Riggs movie. She played. She was a body double for Billie Jean, so she could learn the older strokes But did you get the chance to watch the Pickleball Smash on ESPN? So we had McEnroe, Agassi, Chang.
I did watch that. I thought it was super, super fun to watch. I could tell the guys were into it. I'd heard that they all had practiced quite a bit, and obviously it's on ESPN national TV, so they don't want to embarrass themselves. So and all 4 competitive guys. So I know they wanted to win. So it was fun. I thought it was entertaining. I think it was great for pickleball. And it was fun seeing those guys do it. Yeah. Made me want to get out there and play.
I've always said that I thought McEnroe would be the perfect person in my age group. I'm the 65, 69, to teach how to play the game of pickleball because of his touch in tennis, which we're such a touch sport. and he was still in the wood racket days,
Yeah.
using a lot of touch, not overpowering people with power.
I think Johnny Mac's probably, you put any sort of racket in his hand, he's going to be as good as anybody at it.
Do you have any McEnroe experiences?
I was playing in the singles of the Canadian Open, and I knew Johnny Mac pretty well back then. I played doubles with his brother Patrick, and so I knew John, and we were playing in the quarterfinals, and it was the first time I'd ever played him in a singles match. I played him in doubles before, and so it was on ESPN, and I was pretty nervous and playing well. I'd won a few matches leading up, and he played a good friend of mine, Jim Grab, in the round before, and I called him to kind of get some advice, and he's like, Starkey, I had no chance. Johnny Mac just took just beat me up, and he said, I have no advice. So anyway, I'm playing, and he's up 6-0, 4-0, like that. He's crushing me, just making, I had a really good serve, just keeping it, I was amazed how good his return to serve was. Anyway, I hit a serve I'm up 40-15, hit a serve, definitely an ace. First game of the match, 6-0, 4-1, we're changing sides. And I'm sure he's doing it just to create entertainment, but he's freaking out for like 5 minutes because he thinks the serve was out. And finally I'm like, Mac, let's just get this over with, because there's no way I was going to. But anyway, so that was a humbling experience playing him. And I also had the chance to play doubles with him in a more of a event after I was done, a team event in Spain. And, they say that the best doubles team in the world is anybody with John McEnroe. And it's kind of true. Just being on the same side of the net with him, it was like there was a magnet to the ball. He just knows where to be. He just kind of sees the game a little bit better than
well, that should really transfer to pickleball.
I would think so.
I would think so. Now, I might be biased, but I've been on the court with you quite a few times. I think with your experience on the pickleball court, that right now you're quite a bit better than those guys that were in the pickleball slam.
That's very nice.
What do you think?
I have no clue. I can't answer that. I think any tennis player,
but I mean, right now.
Yeah. I like it. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Way better.
I think right now, when I did get a hold of you when you were still in your 40s, I had this back in my mind goal of, I think I could turn him into. I mean, he's a major champion. He lives in Oregon. I could get him to be a senior champion.
Right.
And it's not too late.
Hasn't panned out yet.
It's not too late.
Not too late. I gotta play.
Would you ever entertain the idea of playing a senior tournament?
I love to play. I really like the game. I love to play. Absolutely. Yeah. If it worked out and it worked with family and schedule and everything, I would do it for sure.
Yeah. The other thing that you would probably enjoy would be a father-son tournament.
That'd be fun. My son and I have played the father-son USGA tennis a bunch of times, and it just had a blast. It's down in La Jolla. Outside of San Diego every year, and we're going to miss it this year, but we've had a lot of fun doing that. And the father-son pickleball would be amazing. Is there one?
Oh yeah, there's father. Yeah, in fact, this year going into the Pickleball Hall of Fame is Scott Moore. Okay. He's a senior player, but both he and his son won the national championship, respectively, singles about 7 years ago. Those two, and back then I think they took second they were right in there for doubles at the time. And this is, we're talking at the time, Scott was probably early 50s, and his son was in his 20s, peak of his pickleball career, and they had a chance to win a championship. We've had mother-daughter, the Waters, win the national title.
That's cool.
I think Annalee was 13 when they won a national title.
That's cool.
So that's great that we are a family sport that you can
play. The event you were telling me about, the national event coming up in Dallas, will that event have a father-son?
That won't have a father-son, but it will have an event that father-sons would have a chance in, and that's it's a hybrid event where you have one senior playing with one. This is a pro event. Pro event. So a pro event where you have one senior pro playing with one open pro. It's really a fun event to watch.
That's cool.
Because the dynamics change a little bit. These senior pros that are used to dominating the court, they have to be able to flip that switch and go, hey, young man, you
Take over a little
take
bit. Yeah.
more than half the court, and
Yeah.
when the lobs go up, I'll say yours.
Yeah.
So
fun.
even though they're obviously both dominant
Sure.
players, but
Sure.
they do know when to turn that switch,
Yeah.
how much court to take and
That's neat.
not take.
Yeah, that's neat.
We're going through a problem now with pickleball, and that is they say growing pains,
Mm-hmm.
but of course we're growing so fast, so quickly. Clubs like this are popping up all over the place. But as far as equipment, we don't seem to have a handle on testing paddles yet. Right now,
You guys don't seem to have a handle on anything.
Yeah.
All the problems with the leagues and so is that still
just
going on? I mean, I haven't followed it closely, but it seems like there's some issues.
they did merge.
Okay.
But there's still going to be some issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we have two pro. So you paid attention to all that Major League Pickleball.
Yeah. I'm sure it just exploded so fast, and it just was tough.
And I mean, it's mind-boggling to me that how many people have come to the sport for financial reasons.
Yeah.
We didn't have that in the 80s and 90s. Now, my dad did create the first composite pickleball paddle, and so we were making paddles and stuff, but we weren't becoming rich.
Yeah.
We were selling paddles $20 a piece out of the trunk of our car.
Right.
That Dad probably spent, I don't know how many hours making each paddle. I forget what he figured he was paying himself per hour.
That's crazy.
But it wasn't very much. But now today, we have a lot of money in the world of pickleball as far as equipment, instructors, pickleball clothes, venues. I didn't see all that happening, but as far as testing paddles, what I just don't want to have happen is the sport to change where paddles become so drastically different that the sport looks a lot different. And did you see that in tennis?
To a certain extent, I think the sport is still generally the same. I think that the biggest change in the tennis world is the strings. They have what's called polyester strings now, which kind of started at the end of my career, kind of late 90s, early 2000s. And so what the polyester strings did is they created friction, like the strings actually grab the ball quite a bit. And when you first hit with it, coming from when I was playing, it was all natural gut strings, and the polyester just grab the ball like you can't believe. So what that enabled guys and girls to do is just create that much more topspin because the ball stays on the strings for so long. So that's why in today's game you see much more ground strokes. You don't see guys coming forward as much into the net. I'd like to think that's slowly changing. Carlos Alcaraz, who's the best young Spaniard now, and he's the best in the world, seems to be changing that. He's coming forward a bit more. But still, that was the biggest drastic change. And I wouldn't say it's a negative, but I do miss a little bit of serving and volleying, a little bit of the game around the net that you just don't see in tennis as much. You just see kind of these guys just beating balls from the baseline, and guys are just so big and athletic and can stay out there all day long. It's hard to come forward like back when I was playing. So that's probably the biggest difference.
Yeah, I can't believe that they can bang a ball for 3 hours, just hit it that hard.
It's insane, and they're playing like, in the Grand Slam events, the courts are so big they stand
way
far back to return serve, and just so things like that you're seeing different changes in the game, which I find those kind of interesting. You saw that like in the finals of the U.S. Open, Medvedev was standing way back to return serve. Djokovic threw in some serve and volleys, to kind of negate that, to take time away from him on the next ball. So I think you're going to see a little bit more stuff like that with these changes.
With standing back so far, that's starting to happen in pickleball because of the spin we're able to get. A lot of the facilities are not going to support the top spin that we're getting because they'll be standing back against the wall and hit their paddle against the wall. So that's one issue I think we have to think about. I think when we played, none of us were using the pre-spin serve when you were on the court. Did you know about that? So there's a while you were allowed to either spin with your paddle.
I did see that.
And that became outlawed.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons is because you could spin people into a wall or into the adjacent court. And so I think we do have to be careful with that. You talk about those strings causing the ball to stay on the strings longer, which creates more spin.
Yeah.
So we call that in the world of pickleball, we call that dwell time.
Okay.
Makes sense. And that's one thing they do try to test, because if the ball stays on longer, you get more spin.
Sure.
Because the more of the surface area is
Same
touching
concept.
that.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
Makes sense.
what I don't want to see is
yeah,
much more than we have now.
I mean, every sport kind of has these things. What are they freaking out now about the Philadelphia Eagles with that? I don't know if you guys watch football, but they have this play with Jason Kelsey, who's the center, and Hurts, Jalen Hurts, and they get guys to push and they get like 2, 3, 4 yards every time, and no one can stop them. And so the big talk, I was just listening to the radio coming up here, is what's the NFL going to do about that? Anyway, I think every sport has these decisions to make and different,
and then that's how different rules get changed.
Exactly. Yeah. Just hopefully people stay open to it, and I would think pickleball, because it's moving so fast, is going to have some challenges in that department a little bit. Yeah, because it seems like something new's coming up all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. My complaint with one of the rules is on the volley serve. It's just impossible right now if as fast as people are serving, to know if they have any downward motion, which is technically illegal.
Oh, you mean the actual serve?
Yeah, the actual serve it's so hard for the referees to tell if that's illegal.
Right.
It's so hard to tell if they make contact above the waist.
Right.
There is a lot of talk in pickleball about tall people are going to dominate, and I do believe that's where we are heading.
So much more reach.
But a tall person, their waist could be over a foot higher than the net.
Yeah. And
contacting the ball at a higher spot is very beneficial.
Right.
That's one reason I created the drop serve.
Right.
Is now even if a 6'6" guy drops the ball, he's making contact a little below the net. And judgment's easy. Right now, it's so impossible to judge if a serve is met below the waist, especially when we really don't have a real definition of where your waist is at.
Right.
And it happens fast.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of rules.
So what's the answer?
Well, I think the answer is everything should be a drop serve, but
which means you have to drop it.
And then so you just hold it, drop it. That's the drop serve.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to throw it down because it'll never bounce higher than your waist.
Got it.
And then allow downward motion.
So you drop it, the ball bounces, and then you hit it.
Right.
Okay, the ball has to bounce though.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Now, right now, you're allowed to do that.
Right. But not everyone does it.
Most pros won't because they know they have to make contact at a lower point of contact, so they can't be as aggressive with it.
Interesting.
So that's one big rule that I'm. But
Yeah.
We want to be able to watch the sport and be entertained.
Yeah.
If the paddles become so powerful, we don't have those hand battles anymore.
Sure.
It's bang over.
Sure. Well, they've talked about this in tennis for years.
Yeah.
The game's getting big, the serves are getting too big, so they tried to slow courts down. They tried to make balls, like mess with the felt a little bit, so they got kind of fuzzier, and so it's been a common theme with, I think, at least the two sports we're talking, tennis and pickleball. I mean, I know they've talked about it for years.
Right.
Guys are getting bigger and stronger. The serves become such a big, weapon in at least tennis. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope that we get a handle on that. When you grew up in high school playing tennis, you stayed at you still went to high school.
Stayed in Medford, yep.
So did most of the juniors at that time live at academies?
Yeah, most of them went to Nick Bollettieri's was super popular then, like Andre and Pete went there, and I mean for a little bit. There were some more local academies down in Southern California, but yeah, a lot of the there was a lot of pressure on me to, you'll never make it coming out of Medford and all that.
Yeah.
And I just
well, don't you think you were at a disadvantage?
Yes and no. For me, I think you have to look at each person. For me, that's the way I wanted it. But yeah, I mean, on the surface, weather, competition, everything. I mean,
and you played basketball, high school basketball.
Yeah, I played high school basketball.
So
but that was super. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the
No,
world.
I get that. No, I totally get that.
That's what worked for me. Is it a disadvantage? I don't know.
Did you get to play with your brother?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I was a senior. He's a freshman. Ted, that was amazing. And then he was a big. He went and played college football at University of Washington. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he's taller than you are.
Yeah, he's taller.
You brought your brother. Yeah, you brought. Yeah. And he's a good pickleball player.
He's good. He's good. He's played
Yeah.
a ton of tennis growing up. So I think it all just translates.
growing up as a tennis player, I didn't start tennis till I was 16.
Okay.
But it was the first high school sport that I excelled at.
Right.
And I came from table tennis in the garage with my parents.
Mhm.
And so I just fell in love with tennis,
Mhm.
became addicted. My dad supported me, learned how to play with me, like he did. He also did that with pickleball too. But at the time I grew up, we had a Northwest Seattle player, Tom Gorman,
Yeah, sure.
who was I idolized Tom Gorman.
Gore. Yeah.
So he is the highest ranked player to ever come out of the Northwest.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, anytime he was playing a pro tournament in Seattle, which he was the captain of the Seaport Cascade, so I got to see him quite a bit. I would go watch him. And I think I remember showing you a picture of him and I together.
Okay.
And did you say that he coached you at one time, or was he Davis?
He was around. He was a USTA coach. He was Davis Cup coach. I never played on his team. I played on the team after he was gone. But I've known Tom. I've known Tom a long time.
And he's I hear Atlanta now. Is he?
He was in Atlanta last I heard.
Yeah. So the other person I mentioned his name to, because we have another major champion tennis player in this area who's playing lots of pickleball. Do you know Travis Parrott?
Yeah, I know Travis well.
Okay, so have you been on the pickleball court with Travis yet?
I have not. Yeah.
So he won U.S. Open.
He won the U.S. Open mixed. Yeah.
Mixed.
Yeah.
Not that long ago, 2006 or something.
Yeah.
He's like 40 something.
Yeah.
So
he's a bit younger.
He's one of those we're catching in time to be a senior pro.
He's good.
Yeah.
He'll be good. Yeah.
He doesn't like traveling either.
Right.
And so he's got a family.
Yeah.
But maybe time he's 50, that could be. We got to get you guys on the court together sometime.
Love it.
Yeah. He's got great hands, and so both of you tennis players coming to pickleball. What is it that you can keep from your tennis game, and what you can get rid of, and does it help your to go back and forth? Let's say that tomorrow you play tennis, and the day after that you play pickleball. Or the things that you can use?
I think you can take anything to each. I really do. I think anytime you have a racket in your hand, no matter what you're playing, is going to help you in as far as the racket sports games. Growing up in Medford, I remember I had a best friend who went on to play Division I tennis at Notre Dame, and he and I grew up in Medford playing tennis together. And one thing we would do at each other's houses is we'd take our driveways and take the cracks in the driveway, and that's our net. And we get a foam ball, and we get small little rackets, and he was redhead, he was Mac, I was bored.
Wow.
And we played tennis. And I honestly believe that having a racket in your hand at a really young age and doing different things with the racket really helps you no matter what you're playing. I was I know a lot of I was talking to Michael Pernfors, who's an old Swedish tennis player. He said that growing up they played a ton of ping pong in Sweden. They played a ton of squash. So I think one thing that's happening now is you're not getting this broad sense of different people are just playing tennis. It's kind of the whole thing about just being too
specializing in one sport.
Specializing in a sport. But so back to your question, pickleball is a ton of dinks and feel and so forth, and especially on the doubles court for tennis, that's going to help a ton. Just putting the strings on the ball and being able to control it. Obviously, it's a different ball. Obviously, it'll take a second to kind of get used to, okay, what do I need to do to, the swing might be a teeny bit different in tennis. Around the net, not as much. The volleys compared to the pickleball. I mean, I consider the volleys on the pickleball court pretty similar to the volleys on the tennis court.
Short swings.
Keep your hands in front, short swings, no big backswing, no big follow through. So all of that's going to carry over.
Thanks so much for being our first guest of the Pickleball Fountain of Youth, Jonathan. It's so funny you say that, because the first time I met you, the first thing you said is it's such an honor to meet a Pickleball Hall-of-Famer. Here, this guy won Wimbledon and the French Open, and and I'm playing small college tennis because I couldn't play it even back then. Back then it was Pac-8, by the way.
Yeah.
I wasn't good enough to do that, so I played for a small college, and then being a tennis nut and to have a Wimbledon champion say that to me is good.
I appreciate
very
it.
humble of you. But we have for you these insoles, Protalis. This is a local company here. A lot of our current pros are using these and getting rid of a lot of foot pain and helping improve balance. So we want you to try these out, and let me know how you.
Well, thanks so much. You know, I'm still on the court a lot, whether it's coaching or just walking around yelling at kids and playing a little bit. So I'm excited to give these a try. So thanks so much.
Good.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Thank you.
Here's our instructional piece of the show, of the podcast. And what I'm going to teach you today applies to all players, but especially senior players. This is about balance, playing the game with balance, which helps prevent injuries. But also, we're going to conserve energy with a couple of techniques that I'm sure are going to help you right away. Well, the fundamentals in order to have good balance, first off, we've got to get those feet farther apart. I see tons of players standing with their feet about like this. It's sort of shoulder width apart, usually narrower than that though. And their knees aren't bent, which means the first thing I have to do when I move to the ball is lean, maybe even fall down because my feet are too close. What I want to see my students do, let's get those feet quite a bit farther apart than you're used to. And let's bend those knees. Now I'm in a position where just by leaning, I can cover a lot of court to my right. By leaning to the left, I can cover a lot of court to the left and maintain balance as I do it. We'll model it right now for you. Right now we're dinking. We're talking about this as far as dinking. If you notice, I'm not moving very much. And I always tell my students, the team that's moving the most, taking the most steps, almost always is the losing team. I'm covering a lot of area just by leaning. I can lean forward if I have to. But I am balanced by being low. Right now, all the weight's over my left foot when I reach that ball. And that was a wide ball. Here's a wide ball. Here's a wide ball. Balance. Now, I may have to take some shuffles to get there, but because my feet are wide and I'm low, I can shuffle and reach, shuffle and reach. I can take a step forward very easily and be balanced. By having my legs nice and bent, I'm also keeping my head close to this paddle head, which is going to help me immensely hit the sweet spot and have a lot more precision. That ball's fairly easy to hit. Look, I have to move to the right, but I could do it just by leaning and being balanced. Leaning, being balanced. My weight is over my left leg, leaning this way, over my right leg. Rather than watch mistakes I commonly see. I'll stand straight up. Feet are too close together. Now when the ball doesn't come to me, well, I couldn't even react very well to that one. Now I have to look at how many more steps I have to take when my feet are wide. I can tell you that if I was playing a match with my feet straight up, close together, I would be very tired by the end of a match with the number of steps I would have to take doing that compared to this motion right here. So just by widening my feet, getting low, and it really also applies in the transitional area. I'll show you. I can cover a lot more balls in the transitional area by using this very same footwork technique with feet wide apart, knees bent. Watch. Here I am in the transitional area, resetting balls, and I don't have to take a lot of steps, but I'm maintaining nice balance everywhere in the transitional area. There's a couple little, look at how I'm balanced over the ball, balanced over my leg, balanced over my leg, and I'm moving, covering the entire transitional area. fairly easily, and I'm also conserving energy as I do it, and I'm being efficient, making the ball land right in the kitchen. I hope you like the advice I just gave on balance and efficiency at movement. Remember, the two things you want to do are get those feet farther apart, have your knees bent, and you're going to find at the end of a match, you still have plenty of energy left. I don't know about you, but after playing 2 hours, I might want to play more. I might have a second session of pickleball in. I want to save my energy. Or I'm in a tournament and you make it to the finals and you still have a lot of energy left where your opponents don't. Hey, David, thanks for helping out on the instructional piece today. It's always fun for me to be able to hang on the court with young athletes like yourself. I know I wouldn't be able to do it without the techniques that I use.
Absolutely. I agree.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Pickleball Fountain of Youth with Hall of Famer Steve Paranto. Special thanks to our sponsor, Protalis Insoles. Visit protalis.com, that's Protalus.com, and use the code PROPB for 15% off and experience the benefits of proper body alignment. For additional content from this episode, including Steve's instructional segment, visit the podcast website, pbfoy.com.
Pickleball Fountain of Youth is a Rex Media production. If you like more information about potentially being a guest or a sponsor, or you just have a question or comment, visit our website, www.pbfoy.com. And be sure to follow us on our social media channels, all of which are linked from our website, pbfoy.com. This is Pickleball Hall of Famer Steve Paranto, wishing you another day of happy pickling.